Greetings, greetings from the Galilee, the beloved Galilee of our Messiah, Yeshua. To you who are waiting for his appearing, to you who are pilgrims passing through this land like Abraham, looking for the city with foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Shalom, shalom. During the 50 years that I've known the Lord, I've been impressed that our life, our understanding, our walk shouldn't be very complicated. And with all of the teachings and learnings and courses, I've wondered, looking for foundation stones that would set us in place and enable us to know the voice of the Lord and to truly know his heart. There's a verse in Matthew chapter 18, right at the beginning. It says the disciples came to Yeshua and asked who was the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And he called to himself a little child and set him in the midst of them and said, "Assuredly I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven." This is a rather striking verse. And after many, many years of reading it, it landed with such a power to say, this is all or nothing. He says, if you don't become like little children, then you won't enter in. There are a number of things we can say about that, but in particular, I'm struck to say, if he sets this parameter of being like a little child in such a high position, the things that we need to know can't be complicated. They have to be fitting and appropriate for a little child. So, in the sharing that I will be doing in the weeks and months ahead, this is a primary perspective that we would go beyond high-level intellectual thinking and theological dynamics to simply knowing the Lord, knowing his heart, for this is the reason that he created us. I'd like to share with you right at the beginning something that is really at the foundation of my life and all of the ministry activities that I've done for over 3 decades. I was once invited to speak to a gathering of Assembly of God students graduating from a college and going into the ministry. I asked the Lord, what shall I tell them? And the response that I got from him was something I had never imagined. He said, tell them about the most neglected mission field in the world, my heart. And he went on to say, mostly, my people, my children, come to me when they need for me to do something. Not necessarily for them personally. In any arena of the world, friends, relatives, governments, when there's something they can't do, they come to me. But very, very few ever come without asking for anything. Just to sit with me, just to be with me, just to treat me as a person, and not just as the source to provide for every need. And he went on to reference a very well-known story in Matthew chapter 26. It was about the woman that had an alabaster flask of very costly ointment. And she came before Yeshua, broke this valuable piece of art, and poured the oil on his feet. Now, in this room were all of his closest friends. The 12, the 3, the 72, we don't know how many people were there. But everyone that was close to him basically was there at this time. And we all know the story very well. And they said, with one voice, this oil could have been sold. This oil that was about a year's wages could have been sold for so much to provide so many things for so many people. And the Lord said to them essentially, wow. Why do you trouble this woman? For she has done a good work for me. For you have the poor with you always, but me you do not have always. And he goes on to say that wherever this gospel, his message is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be told as a memorial to her. This is the only place that I have found in Scripture where someone came to the Lord to give him something and not ask for anything. And how remarkable it is that in the company of all of these people, no one saw that she was ministering to Yeshua personally. So I spoke this message with some other references, actually the time when Yeshua was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he had asked his 3 closest friends to come with him. At this moment when he's about to go through the greatest suffering that he would ever know, and he says to them, would you watch with me an hour? And you have to wonder, what did he want from them? What could they do for him? They didn't understand what he was going to go through. And I think we have to conclude he just wanted their company and didn't want to be alone. At this critical time in his life, it's not a small thing for us to realize this nature of Yeshua, and as he is the expression and fullest revelation of the Father, this is also the Father's heart. So I shared these thoughts with this gathering of 500 graduating seniors from the Bible College and said, perhaps there's someone here that has never come to God without asking him for something. And if that's the case, perhaps you'd like to come forward and say you're sorry. What I experienced in that moment, I've had never experienced before or since. Out of the 500 in the room, there was not one person left in their seat. every single one had said, I've never come to God just to be with him. So here's the question. To leave you with in this moment concerning what I would consider, not just for my life and my work, but the very cornerstone message relating to why God has created us. Do we have in our lives a regular dynamic of coming to the Lord individually and corporately to be with him for whatever he would like without ever asking him for something? To this we were called, for this we were created. To know God in this way, intimately,